Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you once again for joining us on the 2016 Ultimate Leadership Development Series. I'm your host, Chris Cebollero, and I'm excited that you've decided to allow us to join you on your leadership development journey. Today I think we have a really great presentation for you as we're going to look at using leadership quotes and the philosophy and the wisdom to a successful career. Some of us have mentors that are out there, but others are just now starting out into the workforce, or others are now just, trying to figure out how to get that leg up on the next rung of the ladder. And there are so many great leadership quotes that are out there from leaders who are teaching us about their successes, about their failures. And regardless of the leadership topic, you could always find a leadership quote that'll go along with that topic. So I'm really excited today to chat with you about how using leadership quotes will help guide your career. But let's go ahead and look at our objectives. So first, we want to explain how to build essential skills needed to succeed. You need essential skills that are going to help you get ahead, and we're going to talk about a couple of those. Next, we're going to describe the importance of a positive attitude. Everything that you do is going to be based around your attitude. If you have a negative attitude, you're going to have negative opportunities. If you have a positive attitude, that's going to pay off for you in the long run. We're going to name the steps in remaining persistent in reaching your goals. When you think about goals, you need to think about your desire to reach the goal, your will to achieve the goal, and your persistence when anything gets in the way of you attaining that goal. Next, we're going to discuss ways to develop active listening skills. And no matter what we do in our professional career, it's always going to come down to our communication skills. But more importantly, our active listening skills are going to be vital to our success as we move forward. And then finally, we're going to define ways to have effective change management skills. Change management is one of those things in businesses that cause a lot of trepidation for people. What we want to be able to do now is find ways that we can effectively manage change and accept the change that's coming in the organization. So when we think about our professional development journey, what is it that we need to do to start and to begin? What is it going to take for us to be successful? How are you going to gain that foothold in bringing your career forward to the next step? Again, regardless of where you're coming from, regardless of where you're starting, regardless of where you've been, you've now got to be able to set a plan for your success. No one is more responsible for your plan of success than you are. And using leadership quotes as a philosophy and that wisdom is now going to allow you some guidance as you move forward until you can find a mentor that can help take you to the next step. But one of the things that I like to do as a leadership consultant is when I talk with people individually, what leadership quotes that they use to guide them in their career. And that's why I thought this presentation would be very successful. So the very first thing that we need to think about in our professional career is opportunity. Great quote comes from Milton Berle: "If opportunity does not knock, build a door." And this is a really good quote because what it's saying is don't wait for opportunity to knock. Go out and make that knock happen yourself. You've got to be able to go out and develop your own opportunities and develop your own successes. Now, for those who are lucky, there are sometimes an opportunity will fall in their lap and they'll take advantage of it. But for those people who are waiting for the opportunity to show up, that's wasting time. Go out, build a door, and find your own opportunity. Well, how do you do that? Well, the first thing that we need to think about is identifying our priorities and identifying our goals. What is it that's going to help us to be successful? What is it that helps us get to that next step? Your role of being effective as a professional is how you get from point A to point B. So what are your priorities for success? What goals do you want to attain? Once you determine the goals, you need to set a clear path of how you're going to be able to reach those goals and grow. There's people that are goal-oriented, which I think is okay. Every time that they achieve a goal, they get a different goal. But I want you to change the mentality from the very beginning. Instead of being goal-oriented, be growth-oriented throughout your professional career. That's a journey that never ends. Whereas if you're goal-oriented, once the goal is attained, you need to put yourself back into another goal. Some people do that, some people don't. But if you take the position of being growth-oriented, now you're going to be able to embark on a professional journey that's going to last your whole career. One of my mentors, Paul Martinelli, he's got a great quote, and he says that everyone makes their own deal. If you want an opportunity to be successful, you need to make your own deal. Next, would you be surprised if I said you have to adopt a good attitude? This is the cornerstone to your success. You need to take responsibility for yourself. You need to take responsibility for your actions. Don't we know those negative Nancys that are out there, those negative Nellies that always bring the conversation down? People are always being judgmental. People are always pointing fingers. People, no matter what is being said, they're just always negative about those experiences. Those people very seldom get ahead. We need to surround ourselves with positive people. We need to ensure that, the energy tanks that we have are refilled with positive attitude. When you have a good attitude, help other people succeed. Be a resource to other people. What this is going to do is this is going to help you develop respect with your peers and develop respect with coworkers. Developing your opportunity also deals with building essential skills. And when we talk about essential skills, what skills do you need to have to be successful? Now, maybe you have some of those skills now, but maybe you need to think about what you want to be able to develop to be successful in your career. We're going to talk about a few in the next slide, but this is your opportunity now to think about your strengths, think about your weaknesses, and developing the skills necessary for you to be successful in your career. So when we think about building essential skills, one of the big ones is time management. Time management is one of those things that's very crucial to our ability to be successful. We've got to be able to manage what happens within the time frame that we set. Now, you can't manage time. Time is going to tick away and there's nothing that we can do about it. But you can manage the processes and the projects within a specific amount of time. Without good time management, your days are going to seem frantic, frustrated, and with all the responsibilities that you have, they may be hitting you at once. So when you start to think about time management, you need to be able to set and plan your day and determine the projects that you have to get completed. And how long is that going to take you? If you get a project today and you determine that that's going to take you 15 hours, do you spend 15 hours on it in a row, or do you plan it out over 6 days and do a couple hours each day? Well, if you do it that way, you're now going to be able to have multiple projects that you're able to do throughout your day. Remember when we were in high school, we went from class to class, and we didn't sit in the same classroom. We studied science for an hour. We studied history for an hour. We studied language for an hour. We need to be able to take that same practice and put it into our professional day to work on the things that we have to work on in the allotted times and then move on to the next project. Another big one is goal setting. When you think about building essential skills, it's all about developing the goals that you need to be successful. What is your plan for developing your professional goals? What is your plan for developing your leadership development goals? Those are the things that we need to think about. And once you develop those goals, you need to be able to set a plan that you're going to be able to move forward and make that goal occur. Next is you need to develop your communication skills. Now, when we think about our communication skills, these are very important. But it's even more than just your verbal skills. It's your active listening skills. And we're going to talk about active listening in a few slides down the road here. But it's also now your writing skills. We're doing so much work with an email. We're sending a lot of information through text. And if we don't have good communication skills with our written word, we are not going to be seen as very credible. And those are things that you need to start to think about now. One of the things that we need to be able to do is we need to be able to reduce miscommunication. Have you ever been in a situation where you said something to someone and they said, and you just said this, and you reply, well, that's not what I meant. Well, this is where that miscommunication can cause challenges, and you need to be able to make certain that you have great communication skills and you're able to get your point across. Next is stress management. Now, in our day, in our professional day, do we have stress? I don't think we have stress in our professional day, do we? I got to tell you, sometimes we do have stress. And those are things now that we've got to be able to manage throughout our day. Maybe it's stress from home. Maybe it's financial stress or stress within our relationships. But maybe it's professional stress as well. Do we have the tools to do their job? Is no one helping us with our professional development? We need to be able to make certain that we are able to manage that stress. Because when we have that stress, That stress is now felt by our coworkers. That stress is now felt by the people that we lead. And we've got to be able to understand the triggers that cause us stress, and we've got to be able to manage that stress. What you have to remember is our body isn't used to being under stress. And before your physical health and before your mental health starts to deteriorate, you've got to be able to come up with a good plan for stress management. When you're under stress, this is going to affect your ability to make decisions. This is going to affect your ability to communicate. This is going to affect your ability to lead. And you've got to be able to come up with ways to reduce your stress. Next is your career development. One of the things that you need to think about is, regardless of your field, you need to develop a plan for where you want to get to next. One of the things that I would ask my employees when they came into my office would be, what are your professional goals? Where do you see yourself in a year? Where do you see yourself in 3 years? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Somebody would say, I really want to be a supervisor in the next 3 years. Well, really, why are you waiting 3 years? Well, I think I need to become a better worker. I need to develop some different skills before I can lead people. Well, okay, but don't waste your time while you're here now. If you think that your goal is 3 years to be a leader, to be a supervisor, to be a manager, to be a director, what are you doing today to prepare yourself for 3 years down the road? If you know that that's your goal, you need to be able to meet your career path and develop into that goal. You don't want to wait 3 years and now say, I think I'm ready to be a supervisor, and it take you another year to develop the skills necessary to apply for those positions. You want to be able to say, I am now ready to be a supervisor, manager, director, and I'm now going to apply for those positions because I've now spent the past 3 years of preparing for those opportunities. Developing an opportunity is only the first part. You need to have a great attitude as well. Thomas Edison said, our greatest weakness lies in giving up. The most certain way to succeed is to always try just one more time. And when we think about successes and when we think about failures, sometimes things get in our way and we just want to quit because of that failure. We go back and we think about Edison here. One day a news reporter says to him, how does it feel knowing you failed making the light bulb 10,000 times? And Edison's reply was, I didn't fail making the light bulb 10,000 times. I just showed you 10,000 ways not to do it. There's a positive attitude. And one of the things that we have to remember is we've got to be able to develop that positive attitude, because just because you're given an opportunity doesn't mean that you're going to be able to hold on to that opportunity if you have a poor attitude. So what are the ways of developing a positive attitude? First off, we want to be able to seek out others. These are people that have the same mindset that we do. These are like-minded people that have positive attitudes. What we want to be able to do is we want to be able to use those people to help us refill our reserve tank of positive energy. Because sometimes our positive side is going to be kicked in the pants. Our positive side is going to be thrown to the ground. Our positive side is going to have a finger pointed at it. And what we need to be able to do is we need to be able to accept that criticism, accept those mistakes, accept those failures, and have a positive attitude. But sometimes you may need to seek out other people that have positive attitudes as well, that they're able to help you refuel that positive attitude tank. Always face your day with optimism. Always face your day with enthusiasm. Now, does that mean there are not going to be negative things that happen in your day? Of course that doesn't mean that. But regardless of what happens in your day, tackle it with optimism, tackle it with opportunity, tackle it with enthusiasm, and always keep that positive attitude. Next on our list is develop a mindset of curiosity. Asking the question why isn't a bad thing. One of the things that I notice when I go help organizations with their leadership development is that there's always people that allow their ego to get in the way of asking the question why. And the reason is they don't want to look like they don't know what they're talking about in front of their peers. If you know everything there is to know about the career field that you're in, raise your hand. And I don't know many people that can do that. So asking the question why is okay, and learn the things that you need to learn to be successful. Don't allow your ego to stop you from learning. When you approach opportunities with curiosity, you're creating mindfulness, you're creating knowledge, you're able now to develop and grow to those next levels. One of the things that I think is very important is you always need to treat your coworkers with respect. Now, everyone is different. Everyone is unique. Everyone has their own beliefs. Everyone has their own values. Everyone has their own understandings. And just because people have different beliefs than you, just because people have different experiences than you, just because people have different values than you, doesn't mean that they're wrong. They're just different. We need to remember that people are people, and regardless of what they believe different from you, they deserve your respect. Now, there are going to be people that are just going to be unprofessional to you. There are going to be people that are just going to be negative to you. But you need to know in your heart that you're somebody with a positive attitude that's going to treat everyone with respect regardless of how they treat you. When you duck down to their level, you are now putting yourself in a position that you're creating a negative reputation for yourself. So always treat your coworkers with respect, regardless of how they treat you. Work towards a new job. This is something that I think is very important as well. You now want to be able to prepare yourself for what comes next. Again, do you see yourself sitting in your current role for the next 20 years? Well, if the answer is yes, then you still need to be able to develop good skills as you transition from year to year. But if you know that you want to be a supervisor, if you know you want to be a manager, if you know you want to be a director, what are you doing today to prepare yourself to be ready for that position tomorrow? When that opportunity knocks, you need to be able to make certain that you've developed the skills necessary to put yourself in a position to be successful in that new role. Prepare yourself today for what is coming next in your career. And the way that you do that is you set goals. When you set and attain goals, this is going to increase your positive attitude. The things that you need to think about now is if you're stuck in your present day, if it's the ho-hum, if it's the humdrum, if it's the status quo, set goals for yourself to help yourself get out of the mundane role that you're in, and set goals that's going to help you grow. Find a mentor. If you don't have a mentor, think about using these leadership quotes to help you gain success until you find a mentor. I'm happy to go with you along on this leadership journey, and there's some great leadership courses that are in the Ultimate Leadership Development Series. Go ahead and check out a couple of those and allow yourself to grow and get yourself to the next step. Another big one is take responsibility for who you are. Take responsibility for your actions. Take responsibility for your career path. Nobody owes you anything. One of the things that I notice when I go into every single organization is there's always somebody there who plays the victim. There's always somebody there who's resentful for the lack of opportunities. There's always somebody there who's negative that we have to talk about how to develop their positive energy. But they have to be responsible for their actions, and now so do you. It's up to you to make your own success. Tell yourself regularly that you're in charge of your own destiny, and for you to be successful, you need to make it happen. Now, there may be someone that takes you by the hand and says, let me help, and you certainly want to take that hand and say, help guide me, but you're responsible for your own destiny. And then finally, you need to be able to love yourself. This is going to be very, very important for your positive attitude. We've made mistakes in the past. We've had failures in the past. We've had transgressions in the past. We need to be able to forgive ourselves and move forward. You're not a historian. You don't need to remember the things that have plagued you in your past. You can't change the past, but you can change your attitude to the past, and you can love yourself, you can move forward, you could help yourself be successful. Now you've got an opportunity. You've got a good attitude. Next thing you need to do is you need to develop your reputation. And our next quote comes from Henry Ford. You can't build a reputation on what you are going to do. And I think this is a very, very powerful quote. You need to be able to move your reputation forward on your achievements, on your successes, on your developments. You need to be able to build your reputation on what you've attained throughout your career. And I really enjoy this quote because it tells a big story about you don't become the person that you want to be by sitting on the couch and doing nothing. You need to be able to take steps that will help you develop your reputation. And let's go ahead and look at some of the things that's going to help us in developing that reputation. The first thing is do what you say. Your word is your bond. Your word is stronger than oak. You need to be able to do what you say and get things done. Now, You need to be cautious about this because you don't want to take on too much. You don't want to say that I can get this done by the suspense date, but you've now got too much on your plate. This could backfire on you, and this could affect your reputation that you never meet suspense dates. You never meet your deadlines. You never do good quality of work. So your word needs to be your bond. And let me ask you this question. Have you ever needed something from someone and they said that they would get back to you and they never did? Well, I know that's happened with me. How did you feel about that when those persons failed to get back to you? Maybe it was your boss. Maybe it was a coworker. But how did it make you feel? You don't want to give that same feeling to other people when they're relying on you. Another great way to develop your reputation is help others reach their goals. And here's a quote within a quote from Les Brown: help others achieve their dreams and you will achieve yours. This is going to help you develop a solid reputation. A word of wisdom here is don't let the thought of your own advancement keep you from being a resource to others. Help other people get to the next step. And with that, make others look good. You never look good trying to make someone else look bad. You've got to be able to help the people who are around you. Now, again, maybe those people are negative. Maybe those people dislike you, but you're developing your reputation, and you don't develop your reputation based on what other people think about you, or based on what other people are doing to you, or based on what other people are saying to you. What other people believe about you isn't your reality. You've got to be able to make certain that you make other people look good, which will now develop the strength of your reputation. And the way that you develop your strength of reputation is by exceeding expectations. You need to be able to go to the old saying of under promise and over deliver. Always try to find a way to exceed other folks' expectations. Maybe you show up early. Maybe you leave work late. Go the extra mile for nothing more than the purpose of it being the right thing to do. This may not get you recognized initially, but remember, what you're doing is you're developing your professional skills here. So for you to have a strong reputation, you're going the extra mile. If people aren't recognizing it, they eventually will. But remember, you're setting your foundation for success. Another way to develop your reputation is to look professional and dress the part. Don't dress for the job you have, dress for the job you want. My dad worked in the construction field for a lot of years, and he wore his construction clothes at work. But he didn't wear those clothes to work. He wore a jacket and a tie to work every day, and then he would change at his locker, and he would get into his work clothes. That's just who he was as a professional. People who come in contact with you are always sizing you up even before you speak, and that's where that first impression comes in. When you have the upper hand and you look professional, this will never put you in a position for someone to see you looking unprofessional. Next way to develop your reputation is to always watch your body language. You need to make certain that your verbal communication and your body language are always consistent. Haven't we talked to those people that have their arms crossed and that scowl on their face, and they're nodding their head, but you're thinking, this person doesn't care what I'm saying. This person looks angry. But watch your body language. Make sure that you're being consistent with your body language and your verbal message. And with that, we're going to talk about consistency, because consistency is important. Why do you go to McDonald's, and why do you go to Burger King, and why do you go to those fast food restaurants that are all over the world? Because you know what you're going to get when you get there. People need to know that when they deal with you, they're getting the same consistency every single time. When you put yourself in a position to be inconsistent, you are not showing your true self. You need to be able to show those positive qualities and those attributes to everyone that you come in contact with, that everyone is going to get the same Big Mac, everybody is going to get the same Whopper wherever it is that they go. Next is you want to continually to act with integrity. The foundation of everything that you do in your professional career is going to be based on your foundation of integrity. Now, remember earlier, we talked about setting priorities. Well, this is going to go to the foundation of your values, which is now going to be upheld by your integrity. And you need to ensure that what you're doing is you're acting with integrity. Keep your word. Don't gossip. be truthful, and be likable. There are people out there that we just want to be around because when we're around them, they make us laugh. They make us happy. They motivate us. They inspire us. Be that person. Be the person that's going to be there and is going to be able to fill someone else's reserve tank of positive attitude and give that energy off to somebody else. But be the person that everybody wants to be around and be likable. Next, engage with your community. Your community is the people that you work with. This is your department. This is your organization. When we don't have a good community, when we're not engaging to build a good community within our organization, this is where silos develop. And this is what's going to hinder productivity. You need to be able to be the professional that's helping to link departments, that's helping to link the projects, that's engaging in developing the community within the organization. And then that's going to help you develop a good reputation. Next, let's talk about persistence. Now, here's a great quote from Benjamin Franklin: energy and persistence conquer all things. And I tried to find a good picture of Benjamin Franklin, and I think this is one that everybody enjoys. I got to tell you, this is my favorite picture of Ben Franklin. But energy and persistence conquer all things. And you need to be able to be persistent because first we set our goals. Then we develop a plan to reach our goals. Then there's obstacles. Then there's adversity. And then we forget our goals and we move on to something else. It's persistence that allows us to continue to reach the goals that we think are important. And when you have persistence to conquer all things, you will reach your goals and you will be successful. So let's look at a couple ways that will help us develop our persistence. First off is you need to have an all-consuming vision. You need to know where you're going. You need to know how you're going to get there, and nothing should derail you from getting to that vision. You need to be able to develop this goal or this vision that continually drives you towards success. My question to you is today, where do you see yourself in the next 1 to 3 years? What are you doing to put yourself in that position? Now, once you've developed that vision, you need to develop the burning desire that you are going to be able to reach that vision, regardless of what gets in your way. There are times that we may be on the cusp of greatness, but there's frustration and there's adversity and there's hurdles, and we just give up and we're just a few steps away from now reaching that greatness. The burning desire has to be that you're going to achieve your vision. And one of the best ways to do that is with your inner confidence. You need to feel comfortable with your inner confidence, and you need to be able to help yourself, and you need to be able to tell yourself that you're strong enough to get to the next level. Become the person who can achieve any goal, and then help others achieve the same goals that you did by teaching them what you learned in that process. Regardless of what happened in your life before, that was yesterday. Again, your job isn't to be a historian. Your job is to set your vision, reach your goals, and have the confidence in yourself that you're going to be able to do that. Now, sometimes you're going to have to be able to adjust and adapt to your plan. There is no plan that I've ever set forward for the first time and it was successful, because there are things that you just don't know that you're going to come up against. So how are you going to adjust your plan? How are you going to adapt to adversity? Again, when this happens, you need to be able to make certain that you're going to go forward and you're going to help yourself be successful. When we think about procrastination, that we're going to talk about in a minute, we've got to be able to have highly developed habits that are going to help us be successful. Les Brown has got a great quote, and he says that to get something you've never gotten, you've got to do something you've never done. If you keep looking for change, if you keep looking for success in the same everyday routine, you're going to find the same everyday outcomes. You need to be committed to growth, and you need to be able to move yourself forward. We talked about being goal-oriented versus being growth-oriented. When you're growth-oriented, this will ensure that your professional development journey never ends, and you're going to be a student of professionalism at every stage in your career. Be curious, ask questions, and learn as much as possible. And then with that, be a role model to the people who are coming behind you. Help the people achieve the things that you've now achieved. Remember, when we find mentors, what mentors are teaching us is their successes, is their failures, is their experience, is their expertise. And when you're now sharing what you've done, Now you're becoming a role model. Now you're becoming a mentor. This is going to help you develop your reputation, but you're now going to be persistent in achieving your goals because now other people are watching you because they want to emulate you. So now we've talked about opportunity. We've talked about a positive attitude. We've talked about persistence. Next thing I want to talk about is your active listening skills. Just because you have the direction and just because you know you're going to attain that direction and be successful doesn't mean you're going to be successful if you're not listening to the people who are around you. One of the great quotes, and I love this quote, comes from the Dalai Lama. When you talk, you're only repeating what you already know. But when you listen, you may learn something new. And this is very, very important in business. Instead of sharing what you already know, learn something new as you move forward. And this is going to help you to develop your knowledge. This is going to help you develop your expertise. This is going to help you understand the people who are around you. Now, what are the best ways that we can develop our active listening skills? Well, first off, we want to be able to pay attention. You know, as leaders, we have open door policies, right? We say, if the door's open, just come on in and get my attention, whatever you need. But is this what we really mean? We're working on the budget. We're working on a deadline. We're working on our emails. We've got to be able to get to the meeting in the next 20 minutes. And then someone knocks on the door and says, boss, do you have a couple minutes for me? And of course you say yes. But is that really what you mean? And you're thinking about the deadline, and you're thinking about the meeting, and you're thinking about the budget. If you give your time to an employee who knocks on the door, you need to give them 100% of your attention if you allow them to come in. This is what having an open door policy means. Give the speaker your undivided attention. Look directly at the speaker and make eye contact. Even if the speaker looks away to gather their thoughts, keep your attention on the speaker. If they come back and look at you and you're now looking out the window, so stay focused on the speaker. Another component of paying attention is to remove any of your distracting thoughts. Don't come up with a response. Don't come up with a solution. Be there 100%. Stay out of your head. Don't start preparing that rebuttal. Listen intently to the people who are talking. Another thing that you want to do is you want to pay attention to their body language. You want to make certain that the verbal word and the nonverbal messages are consistent. The next thing that we want to do is show that we're listening. This is where our body language comes into play. We want to make sure that our body language is open. We want to make sure that our body language is inviting. We want to make sure that our body language and our gestures are conveying your attention. You may need to nod. You may need to smile. Sometimes you may need to use verbal clues like I see or I understand or yes. But you now want to be able to show that you're listening. With that comes providing feedback. Now, this is something that's very important. Providing feedback is one of those very important components in this communication process. One thing to remember when we provide feedback is to not allow our personal filters to distort the message that is being told to us. Again, our values may be different. Our beliefs may be different. Our expertise may be different. But we need to be able to listen to the message to try to understand why they're believing what they believe. Remember the quote from the Dalai Lama, when people are talking, you're only repeating what you already know. So if I gave somebody some misinformation and now they're holding on to that as law, and I need to be able to provide the best feedback that I can. You know, this is where paraphrasing comes in, and we've heard about paraphrasing throughout our professional careers, haven't we? We need to be able to ask those clarifying questions. So one of the things you may say is, so what I'm hearing is, or so if I understand you correctly, what you're saying is this, and you now want to be able to give that feedback. This way the listener knows that you were listening and you understand what the message was. Next, we want to go ahead and defer judgment. Now, as professionals, do we judge other people? As leaders, do we judge our workforce? I got to tell you, sadly enough, sometimes this is true. And I've gone into organizations and I've helped organizations grow their employee engagement and grow their employee satisfaction, which now increases productivity, which now gives the customer the best experience possible. But a lot of the organizations that I go into, leaders have negative feelings about their workforce and they pass judgment on their workforce, or coworkers are passing judgment on other coworkers. You need to be able to take that out of your professional development toolbox, and you need to be able to see people for who they are. The next thing we want to do is we want to be able to respond appropriately. Active listening is a model that shows respect and shows understanding. This is your time to gain the needed information. This is your time to gain the needed perspective. You want to be able to take all that information in, and then you want to be able to respond as appropriately as you can. When responding, you always want to be candid and you always want to be open. You never want to be attacking, and if you need to assert your opinions, you need to be able to do that as respectfully as possible. And the bottom line here is treat people how you want to be treated in the same situation. Then you're never going to be able to go wrong. Now, what would leadership quotes be if I didn't put one in here for myself? And one of my favorite leadership quotes that I like to use is, time is the enemy to our success. And the reason that I say that is because procrastination is a negative habit that keeps us from being successful. And if we allow this bad habit to keep us from reaching our goals, we are never going to be successful. Time is going to tick away, and that's going to keep us from reaching the goals that we want to be able to attain. So let's go ahead and talk about procrastination. First thing you need to know is you need to know that you are procrastinating. Be honest with yourself. Realize that you're trying to derail your success. You need to be able to move yourself forward. Fill your days with tasks. You need to be able to check things off your to-do list and know that your end result is to fuel your tank of motivation with the fuel of desire and wanting to have success. Don't put off tomorrow what you can do today. Another great quote. Once you realize that you're procrastinating, determine the reason that you're procrastinating. What is causing this to happen? It's vital for you to understand why and how to overcome this practice. But you're not going to do that if you don't know why. So you need to know you're procrastinating, but then you need to determine the reason why you're procrastinating. Next is you need to be able to develop strategies to power you through this procrastination. What is it that's going to help you get over this hump of not wanting to get things done? Procrastination is a habit that you've now hardwired onto your subconscious, and you need to be able to short circuit that and move yourself to a place of success. One of the ways to do that is to share your goals with a peer and have them assist you in being accountable. Hey, I really want to get this project done by the end of the week. Can you keep me on task and just check on me to make sure that that's where I'm leading myself to? Another thing is, we've already talked about it, is practice effective time management. One of the things that we need to look at now is we need to look at what we need to get done, in what time frame, and know how long it's going to take us to complete this task. We don't want to get to the end of a project to realize that we don't have enough time to meet our suspense date. One of the other things that we need to think about is to use positive self-talk. You know, we've got this person in our head that is not very friendly to us. And a lot of times that self-talk that we have is negative. We need to be able to replace that negative self-talk with positive self-talk. We need to be able to motivate ourselves. We need to be able to surround ourselves with positive people. But get rid of the negative self-talk and exchange it with that positive self-talk to keep yourself motivated to the next step. Next, let's talk about change. You know, change is one of those words that just send chills up our back, doesn't it? I mean, we just don't like change. We are the creatures of habit. But change is a very, very important process throughout our professional career. And our next quote comes from JFK, and it says, "Change is the law of life, and those who only look to the past or present are certain to miss the future." We need to be able to look at the changes within our career field. I spent my career in the healthcare field, and there are so many changes that are going on in the healthcare field that if we don't stay up on them, we're going to be left behind, and we're not going to be able to now meet the goals of this new healthcare environment. So when we think about managing change, we need to know that we're going to be able to be flexible to change. We need to know that change is going to happen, that this is going to be a new opportunity for us, that this is going to be a new situation for us, that as we set up this new environment, we're going to be able to learn of what happens next. there are going to be advances when there are changes. And we need to be able to put ourselves in our path that we can help advance our department, that we can help advance our organization. And when it comes to managing change, even though we're uncomfortable with it, see what advances are there and take advantage of what those opportunities are going to be. And in the process of change management, there's always going to be opportunities, and you want to be able to look at those opportunities, and you want to be able to use them as stepping stones of growth. You need to always be able to look at the big picture. If your corner of the department is dealing with a project and you only see what your project is, you're not going to have a view of the big picture. Understanding that when change comes, it just doesn't affect your department, but it affects other departments. Does it align with the strategic goals of the organization? Look beyond yourself, look beyond your responsibilities, look beyond your department, and see what the big picture is. Finally, let's go ahead and get to the importance of mentorship. Now you've went ahead and set up your career. You've had an opportunity. You've developed a good attitude. You've got active listening skills. You've got a positive reputation. Now it's time to share what you've learned and share those expertise with the people who are around you. Here I am with my friend and mentor, John Maxwell. If you don't know John, he's the #1 leadership expert in the world. He's written over 80 books, and he's had the opportunity to influence over 6 million leaders worldwide. And one of my favorite quotes from John is, "A leader who develops followers adds, but a leader who develops leaders multiplies." And now what this is saying is you're taking your leadership knowledge, you're taking your professional career expertise, you're taking your failures, your successes, you're taking your lessons, and you're now sharing them with other people. So how do we develop into a good mentor? And we've already talked about reputation, and we've already talked about being a good role model, but you also need to be able to develop your credibility. When you develop your credibility and have a solid reputation, now you become a resource to others. And when you share your experiences, you're going to help people get to that next step. One of the things to think about as a mentor is we need to be able to be challenging. This is your opportunity to assist in developing critical thinking skills, in developing strategies for achievement and strategies for goal setting. Just like the mama bird is going to take the bird and throw them out of the nest, you need to be able to be challenging enough that you're pushing your mentee outside their comfort zone, and this will give them the opportunity to learn and to grow when you challenge them. One of the next things that we need to do is we need to acknowledge achievements, especially achievements that we know were goals or hurdles or challenges for those mentees. Everyone loves a good pat on the back. And with the relationship that you now have as a mentor, it's up to you to acknowledge those achievements and pat that mentee on the back. This is going to be an espresso shot of motivation that's now going to keep their tank full. And by acknowledging those achievements, it's now going to allow them to grow and get to the next step in their professional career. So now we've set off on a path to use leadership quotes to help guide our career. We've started from the beginning. We've read the quote, we've made the determination what it means to us, and then we've put it into practice that's allow us to set the path and being successful in our careers. Now, you may have a mentor. That's great. But find great leadership quotes that talk to you. Go ahead and pull them apart and ask yourself, what do they mean to you? From there, grow your professionalism, learn, teach, help others develop, cultivate your skills, and now use the guidance and the lessons and the wisdom and the philosophy from the leadership quotes that you pick, help them guide your career. I got to tell you, I've had a really great time chatting with you about how leadership quotes can influence your career. Now, one of the things I want to challenge you on is I want you to find different leadership quotes that you keep with you always. I keep a stack of 3x5 cards with different leadership quotes that motivate me that I'm now able to use to inspire myself, or I'm now able to use to help myself grow. Or sometimes I may just need a leadership quote that I'm able to impart on someone else so they're able to grow and they're able to see those lessons. So ladies and gentlemen, I really want to thank you for allowing me the opportunity to come and sit with you and talk a little bit on your professional development journey. If you've enjoyed this lecture, there's a couple other lectures that I want to talk to you about. Servant leadership, just like we've talked about here, is a narrated PowerPoint, and you're now able to learn a little bit about servant leadership. But if you're interested in teaching servant leadership, or if you're interested in teaching this lecture here, you're able to buy the license, which will give you the PowerPoint, the instructor resource manual, which comes with student questions and student activities that you're now able to take this presentation into the classroom and move your coworkers forward. So if you're interested in doing that, you're able to check that out at www.chriscebollero.com at our products page. And I want to go ahead and share with you my book, Ultimate Leadership, 10 Rules of Success. In this book, I've went ahead and taken from my experiences and professional career the successes, the failures, the mistakes. I've put them into 10 rules of success, and I'm going to be able to share with you how these rules have helped shape my career. And if you're interested in teaching this course, you could buy the PowerPoint, which has about 80 slides in it. It also comes with a 125-page instructor resource manual, which has student questions and activities for the classroom, which now gives you the license to teach this course. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for allowing me to come and chat with you today, and I look forward to you joining us on the next Ultimate Leadership Development Series presentation.
Chris is an internationally recognized leadership expert with close to 30 years of experience. Chris has a proven track record for developing award-winning organizations. He is an author, motivational speaker, leadership coach, and teacher. Chris is available for leadership development, motivational speaking and teaching, and group and individual coaching. Check out our website at www.chriscebollero.com and register for other free leadership presentations. Thank you for joining us.